tell you, I didn't know on a Thursday what kind of outturn we would have in terms of folks here, because it's the last day and everybody's eager to probably get out and do a number of things. But thank you for coming. What we are here today talking about is such a very, very important issue in all of the states. And obviously, as Bob talked about and updated you on some of the different states, it's becoming something that is really catching on. And I was looking at the initial letter that Ron had sent out just to talk about the general purposes of the legislation, the provisions, the nature of the legislation, etc. And that's what I want to walk you through today. For those of you who haven't dealt with this issue in your states, a little bit of what to expect as you do look at something like this. And as was mentioned, I did put a copy of the legislation that we passed in our state in the back, and I'll tell you why specifically. You're not able to find that online, which is kind of humorous in light of what it is that we're talking about here today. I'll tell you how we got to that as well. One of the things that has shocked me, I am in my second session in the state of Kansas, and one of the things that has really, truly shocked me, and even more so this last year as I've served on one of the budget committees, is how many of us go to our state and vote on very large packages of our taxpayers' dollars that truly, truly, we do not know what is in them. And if anybody in here really understands their state budget that's a legislator down to the T, come talk to me, because I know I've looked through ours pretty extensively, and there is just too much detail in there and too much that I can't find. This kind of began for me the whole issue of transparency in my first year in the Kansas legislature, and that was an interest in looking at transparency in advertising, and specific what kind of your state tax dollars are going towards the advertising. As you can imagine, there was a phenomenal amount of kickback. I knew when I was going into the committee hearing that it would be a David and Goliath battle, and indeed it was. I think there were 2 or 3 of us lined up to testify in favor of a sunshine law. I wanted paid for by your Kansas taxpayer dollars at the bottom of advertising, specifically done by state agencies. And there was a line out the door. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but there were numerous people from the various agencies to testify against it. So it was difficult to sit there and listen to testimony after testimony after testimony. And I understand feeling like you're being encroached upon if you're an agency, or feeling like you're going to have to give up a little bit of something. But at the end of the day, we all exist and we all serve at the pleasure of the taxpayer. And it is only the taxpayer who funds everything that we do in government. Many worthy things, and I never want to leave that out. Government functions for many, many worthy reasons, but there are also some areas where, when left to our own abilities, we may not be as accountable as we should be. And I won't go into the whole advertising transparency other than to let you know that it did pass the House and did move through the Senate and was watered down in our executive branch. So being a freshman legislator at that time, I took another run at it. I felt the intent of the bill was probably understandable, but it was watered down. So took another run at it, got it again through the House, again through the Senate, and it met the red pen. So it still sits. However, this last year, the issue of budget transparency was brought in front of me, and of course, somebody interested in numbers and what it is that we do with our taxpayer dollars, that was very interesting to me. And Senator Brogdon, really have him to thank for this, because the Oklahoma legislation was what I initially looked at when we were putting this together. And as I was reading through it, there were a few things that I thought for the state of Kansas, and particularly from my experience in looking through numbers, that I had questions on, felt needed to be added to it. So I went through and added it. And then we went ahead and, of course, introduced it. As we got into committee, as you might imagine, there was a lot of discussion over this. Now, again, this is all, in a digital age, there is absolutely no reason why we shouldn't have everything up for the public to see. This is their information. They should be able to see it. This isn't a secret. And just a quick personal experience, I was preparing a talk one day for our Senior Citizen Center, and I was specifically looking for some information on aging services and what we spend in the aging services. And in the broad realm, I was able to find that information, but I was specifically looking for something having to do with the food program. And I searched and I searched and I searched, and I'm a pretty tech-savvy person. After about an hour, I was completely frustrated searching on the web. And I said to my husband, you're gonna have to do this because I can't find it. I'm losing my cool here. He searched about another hour and a half, and he said, Kasha, you're just gonna have to write it out, do something else in your presentation because I can't find the number. Folks, that is ridiculous. That is absolutely ridiculous. So out of that has, in my own personal experience, also born an interest of knowing more about the budget. In addition, as serving as vice chair on our General Government Budget Committee, I'm amazed when those budgets come through at the aggregation of the numbers. I know that I had spoken to, and we have wonderful staff in the state of Kansas, and I said, can you break this down for me? Can you tell me what the line items are? Because I don't know how to make a meaningful vote if I don't know what the line items were from the last time, or the additions that we gave, etc. And you want to talk about performance outcomes, that is a big question to be able to answer before you cast that vote. And the look I got back was just one of, I'm sorry. I can tell you a little bit of detail, but those numbers tend to get amalgamated, and then we move on. And you know, I just don't know of anybody who can actually budget in that fashion if you don't know what it is. So, enter transparency, 2007. We come together, we talk about this bill, I put in my changes, we get it introduced into committee. I had a wonderful chairman willing to introduce it for me, and it generated much discussion. As you all know, committee times are very, very limited, and typically a long time on a bill might be one full committee sitting. This got 4. We went 4 days on this. And many questions from our departments, specifically our Department of Administration, who has been tasked to oversee this. Again, I understand, you know, something new like this, something big, that immediately gets a reaction, but that information is out there, it exists. Both sides of the aisle had questions about it. You know, are you going to put out there information that's personal to people with regard to tax returns, information that's currently confidential? Absolutely not, and I wouldn't recommend that any of you would do it in your state. Anything that's protected in your state already and federally needs to stay that way. However, there is a litany of other things that we talk about. For any of you who picked up the bill back there, if you just run through it, disbursements by any state agencies, including bond debt payments, salaries and wages, contractual services, commodities, capital outlay, debt service, including bond interest paid. Let me tell you something. In your states, do people know what your indebtedness is? Do they really understand? I don't believe they do in my state, because when I talk to people, they are shocked at our bonded indebtedness. They do not know. Capital outlay, I think I mentioned that, aid to local units, etc. Annual revenues having to do with receipts or deposits by state agencies, gifts, donations, federal grants. I think we pretty much put just about everything in here. Now, the beauty of the committee process in this, and I have to say, what came out was a far better bill than what I went into with. We discussed and discussed. We really tore down my bill to kind of the bottom, and we started rebuilding and put a number of things back in. We added things. We gave the Department of Administration leeway to do what they felt they needed to do, and able to administer this as soon as we wanted to. The other side of the aisle had some issues that they wanted to see included, and it came out a very, very good bill, a bill that I'm very proud of. And at the end of the day, when we ran it on the House floor, it passed 102 to 20. And it was a really wonderful feeling to carry it down and to have members of the other side of the aisle come down and to commend the committee process and the way the bill came about, and to receive that kind of a vote. Very, very gratifying. You know, I'm sure you'll hear all manner of reasons not to want to put transparency and a website up there. I certainly did when I sat in our Senate, and I was disappointed. And the piece, I might add, was attached to a budget by Senator Tim Huelskamp, who I wish he was here today, because I owe a great deal of gratitude to him for being able to attach that bill to the budget bill. But we heard lots of excuses, and on a voice vote, it failed.